Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. Football Scoop Podcast is here. We're here to talk about Week 12 preview. It's a week. Every game's important. There's only 3 weeks left, right? We're counting down to championship games. You can't lose. You can't stumble. Boise State's got San Jose State. You got to win the games, right? Tulane's playing Navy. It's a big deal. Tulane wants to keep winning. You got to beat Navy. There's a bunch of SEC stuff that's happening. We should talk about it. Gentlemen, I've got college football experts Zach Barnett, John Bryce, Doug Samuels. Great to see you guys. It's not a week where I really know where to start, so I'm going to start kind of up towards the top. I'm not going to start with Ohio State because they're playing Northwestern. And I'm just going to skip it because if they lose Northwestern, then we're going to have a pod literally about that. Moving right along, Texas is at Arkansas. Zach, give me some thoughts.
Yeah, so one of the hot topics in college football right now is the juxtaposition of Texas's number 3 ranking and its garbage strength of schedule for the most part. You'd think in a given year you blow out Michigan, Oklahoma, and Florida, you're going to be sitting pretty, but those teams are not ranked and not close to being ranked. They don't have a ranked win. They're not going to get one this Saturday either because Arkansas is 5-4. However, what the algorithms don't capture is how difficult this game is actually going to be for Texas. Steve Sarkisian said this summer that Arkansas hates Texas more than they like themselves, and Sam Pittman was asked about it and was like, "Yeah, I agree. It's hard to argue with that." So to go there, they went there in 2021, but the last 30 years this has been a once a decade type game. And this is going to be far more difficult for Texas to win than you would assume a noon game against a 5-4 team would be. Bobby Petrino is a very good offensive coordinator. Arkansas can threaten you through the air and on the ground. They're going to throw everything they have at Texas. Travis Williams will throw some junk pitches at Texas. If they can hit them, then they could do what Ole Miss did and just go through them like Swiss cheese. If not, then the Hogs are going to have the Longhorns trapped in hell. So this is a game Texas should win, but it's going to be more difficult than it appears, and they won't get the credit they deserve for winning at a hostile environment because at the end of the day, if Texas wins this game, Arkansas will be just another 5-5 team on their schedule.
JB, how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I was on the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday. Sam Pittman sounded pretty optimistic that Taylon Green would be available in that game. I do think Texas catches a break, that it's not a late night game there in Vietnam because things can get pretty rowdy there in the northwest corner of Arkansas on the weekend. So I think that Texas up front on the offensive and defensive lines will control this game. I also think that Texas is frankly probably a bit sick of hearing how the Horns haven't played or beaten anybody this year. Their strength of schedule metrics by any of the formulas are still a lot stronger than some teams jumbled around them in the college football playoff rankings. And they don't have a win against anybody currently ranked in the CFP's 25, but Texas has 2 to 3 wins this year over teams that at the time Texas won those games were ranked teams, including winning at Michigan when the Wolverines were still the defending national champs with a 15 or so game winning streak. And ranked 10th in the country. So I don't think Texas is as hollow as is being portrayed, but they need to make a statement in this contest.
I thought you were going to bring up Vanderbilt there. I really did. I was like, putting some respect on Vandy once again.
Well, they were ranked. They were ranked when Texas beat them. They are among those teams that were ranked when Texas beat them. That's a quality win this year.
I think Texas needs to win this game the way Ole Miss beat Arkansas. I think if they don't, the negative chatter just begins to grow and that narrative might get out of control. Who knows?
It does, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Texas controls its fate. If Texas wins out and wins the SEC championship game, it will be the number 2 seed. End of discussion.
I agree with you. Does anybody right now want to raise their hand and say they think that's going to happen?
Who's going to beat
I wouldn't stake my life on it either. Just due to, they have as good a shot as anybody, but I wouldn't put over 50% of any team winning the SEC. And Texas' argument right now is, we haven't played a on the surface a tough schedule, but we've been dominant in the games that we've won. So winning by 30 would be great. I think winning by 14 would be a heck of an accomplishment. But the way their schedule is setting up, it's basically that A&M game is going to be a play-in game for probably both teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. I'm fired up for that game. All right, so I said I start towards the top. I skipped over Oregon. Oregon's at Wisconsin, right? I think it's at Wisconsin. Oregon's got to keep doing what Oregon's got to keep doing, right? Whiskey has been on and off. Doug, you see a chance that Wisconsin actually pulls off a win? Not just plays well, but pulls off a win.
No, I could see Wisconsin playing a little bit better. I don't see him getting a win here. I think a consensus among all of us is that Oregon's probably the most complete team in the country right now, playing the best. And undoubtedly telling the best stories through their video team as anyone in the country. Wisconsin's a tough place to play, always is. Stretching back to Barry Alvarez and Paul Chryst and now Luke Fickell, but they've just been through so much offensively in terms of injuries and changes and that kind of stuff that I don't think they have the firepower to hang with the most complete team in the country right now.
I feel the same way. Good talk. JB, there's a player on Tennessee that's questionable. Would you tell me his name?
His name would be none other than sensational redshirt freshman quarterback Nico Iamaleava. And it seems to be trending well for Iamaleava to play this weekend. But obviously, Tennessee's hopes, dreams, and aspirations rest on the shoulders of the California native Iamaleava and his status in this game. Been concussion-like syndromes. Been trying to check on that. Josh Heupel infamously tight-lipped as it pertains to injuries. So the first SEC player availability, not injury report, even though I loved a coach calling it an injury report on the phone on the Zoom yesterday. Has him as questionable. There's modest optimism. Tennessee has zero shot, regardless of your guy gas pipe, Scott. Tennessee has zero shot in this game without Nico Iamaleava, and I still give the edge to Georgia in this contest regardless. Georgia's dealing with massive disappointment from last weekend. I thought that Georgia would play better last weekend than it did. I can't see Georgia squandering two back-to-back opportunities, and it's an elimination game for the Bulldogs. They lose this game, they're not going to the playoffs. I don't care if there's already stomping going on. The best they could be at that point is 9-3. All three losses would be in the SEC. That would give them no pathway to play in the SEC championship game and therefore have a chance at the automatic bid. So this is it. Georgia's season rests between the hedges on Saturday. The last time Tennessee won between the hedges was the first weekend of October 2016. Yours truly was a sideline reporter in that game, and it took Tennessee getting a Hail Mary to Juwan Jennings to win that game with a walk-off touchdown.
So, John, I have a question for John. The last time Tennessee went to Georgia, they were ranked number one or something. They were ranked very highly fresh off that win over Alabama, and Georgia just absolutely controlled that game up front. Sacked Hendon Hooker 6 times, and I was just looking it up, and I was surprised Tennessee got to 13 points that day. My initial assumption is, well, due to all the factors you just said, Georgia's going to do the same thing to Tennessee, control this game. But when we think of where these teams actually are now, I think it's Tennessee's defensive line that has the better chance to control this game than any of the four line groups on either of these teams. A, is that accurate? And B, do we think this Georgia team, who's played a very tough schedule, is just A, not as good as we assumed, and B, a little bit worn down?
I think it's more B, a bit worn down. Now, I will say, and I think a couple of us have been on this train since the season started, I was never as high on Carson Beck as some people going in, and now his TD to INT ratio is 17-12. And this is a guy that entered the season projected as the potential number one pick or the potential number one quarterback taken in the NFL draft and a Heisman frontrunner. And those dreams and aspirations are long since gone. I do think that Tennessee's defensive line is the single best unit in the game. It would be Tennessee's defensive line in the presence of Nico Iamaleava that would give Tennessee a chance to win in this game. I just think that nighttime between the hedges, Still don't think Tennessee's offensive line beyond Cooper Mays is that good. And I do think that Georgia's, frankly, pissed off motivation will be a strong factor in this game. But Tennessee's defensive line is the best unit in this game. I talked to somebody that believes all 4 of Tennessee's defensive linemen will be NFL players.
I agree with you. Tennessee's offensive line having issues is the problem. I think Schumann and Kirby will scheme that up and will exploit that, and I think Georgia wins this game. JB, I want to go back to 2016. You said you're on the sideline. Was this audio only, like radio, or were you doing some video stuff too?
I was for IMG radio. So I was doing the IMG radio sideline broadcast there and got the track down Juwan Jennings in the middle of the field as he's celebrating wildly, and got the first interview with Juwan after catching the Hail Mary. And I asked him when he knew he was going to catch it, and he said as soon as the ball left Josh Dobbs' hands. So that is forever one of my favorite interviews, forever an iconic quote, and it's certainly a game that you just will always remember being at and being fortunate enough to be part of the coverage.
All right, so the fact that this was radio only makes the stakes of my next question even higher. Was makeup applied to you in any way prior to that game?
Not prior to that game. I have had to wear my share of makeup for TV hits over the years. I was a regional TV analyst and had to get the makeup done every Sunday morning as part of that routine. But we sacrifice where we sacrifice, gentlemen.
Having to get makeup done for a radio hit would give a new meaning to the face for radio.
And it would be appropriate. So I mean, look, if anybody knows, I told somebody within the last week, I definitely have a face for podcasts. So I would be understanding if they wanted to apply makeup for that.
I feel like LSU performs so poorly against Alabama that we can't even talk about LSU anymore. They're playing Florida. I don't know. I got nothing.
Oh, one comment on that though. I saw the governor came out and said that the fake tiger that he brought in was the only tiger that showed up that day. In the land of voodoo, does it not occur to him that possibly LSU's stinker performance was caused by him bringing in the fake tiger?
100% not. He never considers that. There is no chance in the world a governor from Louisiana will ever accept fault for anything like that. I will tell you, I laughed so hard. We had the worst weather. So I live in Baton Rouge. We had the worst weather all week. It was just terrible. And there's a local sportscaster who tweeted last night. He said, y'all, Alabama came in here. He mentioned the Tiger, I think, and they just wrecked LSU. They also wrecked Baton Rouge. The town has been a disaster ever since. The weather's been putrid. I'll tell you, we do have like the greatest weather day of all time today. I don't know what's happening here, but it's amazing. Good stuff. Does LSU beat Florida? Any quick thoughts?
I think DJ Lagway's status for me is the huge factor in this game. I think Florida, if Lagway plays and is remotely close to 90 or 100%, I think Florida has a great chance to win this game. I think you have to see where the psyche of LSU is and how broken they are. And now that's 2 or 3 times this season we've seen Brian Kelly reverting back to some of his early Notre Dame days and being in the face of his assistant coaches. So I do wonder just about the LSU ecosystem right now.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. Is now if you lose that game as murderously as you did to Alabama, you're going to have to fight against the human nature of all these LSU players. Like, all right, well, we're not winning the SEC. We're not making the playoff. What's next for me? Do I move on to the NFL? Do I stay to LSU? All that, blah, blah, blah. And you got to get them focused on the here and now, and a Florida team that, if, as John said, if they get DJ Lagway back, is going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, I've seen LSU Twitter kind of chirping up that, Brian Kelly is kind of who we thought he was. He's a really, really good football coach. Is he an elite football coach? Has not shown that as of yet since arriving in Baton Rouge, and not back to his Cincinnati. Again, he was very, very good. Central Michigan, he was very, very good. Notre Dame, very, very good. Is he an elite football coach? I don't think that he's proven that yet.
so the three guys on the podcast with me know this. I think most people know this. I'm not a big stats guy. You guys are amazing at stats. Y'all know the stuff off the top of your head. I just see what I see. I've had a local sports guy here in Baton Rouge point out to me or ask me really saying, since Brian Kelly has been here, have we had a running back go for like 800 yards, 1,000 yards? I think the answer is no. I think they've had like 400 yards, 500 yards, 600 yards for the lead running back on the team in 3 seasons.
Yeah, I can't remember what Logan Diggs would have had a year ago. I'm not sure.
I think he had 600-ish. I think. Now you had Jaden Daniels, and Jaden Daniels was pretty good. That dude ran for 1,000 yards probably himself. Anyway, moving right along.
He did have 600. He had 653 last year. This year, Caden Durham is LSU's leading rusher with 460 through 8 games.
It's going to be tough to win in the SEC running for 400 yards through however many games.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten 1,000 yards out of the running back position, but they haven't come close to getting 1,000 yards out of a single one individual running back.
But part of that's injuries.
Games.
But they've had injuries starting at the beginning of the year, right? Like they haven't been a full room yet.
Yeah, I feel like
John Emery has been in and out every season for the last 10 seasons.
Yes,
but
yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like John Emery signed with Mike Archer.
Yes. Yeah. He's been here as long as I've lived here. Yeah. Moving right along, talking about running backs. There's a guy who I think is pretty good, Ashton Genty. So they just got to win, right? They're playing San Jose State. Kenny Niumatalolo's team is really good, honestly, which is a good thing for Boise State. Boise State needs to keep stacking up good wins, and I don't think that's a problem here this weekend.
No, I think they're again. If Army is able to beat Notre Dame, and if Tulane beats Navy this weekend, then Army has a chance to significantly boost its resume. But the committee really likes Boise State, and I think the protocol changes every week. So on the surface, you'd be happy with a 29-28 win, but I think you need to keep playing good football, and you need to root against Army and or Tulane to stay off your heels.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. If Army beats Notre Dame, everything changes, right? That would be Notre Dame is playing extremely well. If Army were to get them in Yankee Stadium, all of a sudden all eyes go there. If Tulane keeps winning, like you're saying, Tulane's got Navy this weekend. That's a battle. And then Army Tulane becomes epic, conference championship game. Boise State has that issue, right? That if they win out, everybody was thinking they're going to play UNLV in another championship matchup. But Colorado State has the softest schedule of all time. Colorado State has played no one, and they play no one. They don't play Boise. They don't play UNLV. And Colorado State has 3 really soft games coming up to get to the conference championship. So then Boise State plays Colorado State, and America's like, well, great, you beat Colorado State. I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room to grow for Boise State in their resume, especially the Colorado State issue as well.
I would like to merely say that Colorado State. So you're feeding into the narrative that Texas has played no one, Scott, since they played Colorado State and won 52-0, and now Colorado State may play for the Mountain West Championship. So you're calling Texas nothing or Colorado State. They tried to schedule Texas, and apparently Texas is nothing. Your words, not mine. You said they've played no one.
I think
so I have to schedule it.
That Colorado State's a quality win for Texas. No. That is the most SEC apologist crap I've ever heard. John Bryce just went to another level. We beat Colorado State early.
Contextualizing.
Man,
Ram tough.
We scheduled Colorado State. Darn it! How can you say whatever?
No, I'm saying poor Colorado State. Who do they need to schedule next? The Broncos.
There's some good stuff out there. Arizona State, Kansas State, both I think only have 2 losses. How about them apples? That's a ball game. Any thoughts on that one, gentlemen?
K-State's physicality, to me, the difference in the game. What Dillingham's done has been impressive, but and certainly Arizona State is making life much, much more miserable for their in-state rivals at Arizona, and that's pertinent because the more Arizona State wins, the worse it is for Arizona. But I don't think this is a weekend that Arizona State wins.
Is Kansas
Although Arizona
gonna
State,
play?
yeah, you mentioned Arizona State's physicality or Kansas State's physicality. Arizona State's bringing back maybe the most physical player in all of college football in Scadaboo, who's going to be like a dog let off the chain after he's missed a few weeks. If he's healthy and can go, I mean, I think that shifts my projection a couple points in Arizona State's favor. Is that enough to win? I don't know, but it'd be a big addition for the Sun Devils.
Which Kansas State team's going to show up? The one that narrowly beat Houston, or the one earlier in the year? Like they're physical, but they haven't been a physical week in week out offense that you expect from Kansas State. And I think I gotta tip the scales in Arizona State's favor. If you saw the clip, Scadabo on the sideline last week against UCF in a tight game. He's dressed in street clothes, pulling on Kenny Dillingham's coattails, like, "Hey man, put me in. I'm ready. Put me in." And Kenny's like, "No man, just wait. We'll try and get you cleared." Yeah. Hey man, I want to get in. So let him off the chain and let him run loose. And Kenny Dillingham's talked about how Sam Levitt has done a really nice job. Transferred from Michigan State has been the answer they've needed at quarterback. So I know it seems like the country is picking Kansas State. This is in our picks. I'm going with Arizona State.
Is Scadaboo playing? Do we know?
I don't think he has officially been cleared, but he's trending towards being cleared. Last I saw.
Okay.
On track to play against Kansas State as of yesterday.
Okay. That's in Manhattan. Tough place to win. We'll see. Utah is at the prime experience. Utah, I kind of think, I hate to say they've thrown in the towel, but I kind of think they might be throwing in the towel.
Yeah, the towel definitely, with that 4th and 10, the opportunity to rally seems like very well could have ended with that holding penalty that Utah allowed to swing the game because BYU still had to go 50-something yards in a minute or whatever it was. Utah is now down 2 quarterbacks. Colorado's playing some of the most improved defense in college football. This is it has been and is now just a season to forget for Utah. I think you'll see let's go out there, get this game in and get back home, whereas Colorado's feeling itself playing for something. Hard to see the Utes winning in those conditions.
Yeah, I think Utah's defense keeps this close for a bit, but it's a bad formula on the opposite side of things for the Utes because they do have and have had all season long considerable quarterback issues, and those are not going to let up this week against a Colorado team that not only leads the Big 12 in sacks, but I think is in the top 6 nationally in most sacks recorded. And those Utah quarterbacks have done very little to lift the offense, and that's why we've seen Andy Ludwig forced out. That's why we've seen that team struggle to score 20 points on air and be shut out at home, as Zach noted last week, all in the second half. So I do expect Colorado to win this game. It'll be close, maybe all the way to halftime, but Colorado, too much firepower and too aggressive on the defensive line coming off the edge. That defense will generate some game-deciding turnovers.
Yeah, the last 4 weeks, Utah has lost 1-possession games, 8 points, 6 points, 3 points, 1 point. So even limping through with their quarterback issues, they and even the week before that was a 2-possession loss to Arizona. So they're limping through and keeping things close, I think, largely because of what they can do on defense. No one scored over 27 points. That was Arizona State 4 weeks ago. But offensively, if they can keep things close, they've got a shot. But I agree with JB. I think this one likely gets out of hand. Too much firepower in Boulder.
And one more quick thing: the really top-notch Utah tight end, Kuethe is his last name, Kuethe, I believe. He's done for the year. Hurt in the opening half last week against BYU. He won't be back. That guy's an NFL tight end, another NFL tight end coming out of the Utes system. So for an offense that was already hamstrung, its best weapon is now shelved for the final month of the season.
All right, speaking of BYU, Kansas, who just got Iowa State, Kansas playing like considerably better all of a sudden, goes to BYU. still a trap game for BYU? I don't know, a trap game. I mean, just coming off of the huge Holy War win. Does Kansas get in there and mess up BYU's season?
Kansas can score enough to absolutely make this a 4-quarter game, and you do worry about the letdown at BYU, even though they're one of the older, more veteran and mature teams in all of college football. I do think that this Kansas offense, we saw a much lesser version of this offense earlier this year from Oklahoma State, nearly derail BYU's perfect start. So I do have the Cougars on upset alert this week.
If this game was at Arrowhead, I would join you, but the fact that it's at BYU, I mean, they should get a hero's welcome winning at Utah for the first time in nearly 20 years. There's so much to play for. I think I don't know what the spread is. I'm not sure. I'd take BYU to cover.
Close. It's really close. It's like 2 points. I mean,
It is. It's under. Yeah.
Well, then I guess I'm taking BYU to cover because I think they win like a 4 to 7 point range.
Yeah, 2.5 point spread for a 9-0 team against a 3-6 team tells you everything you need to know about that matchup right there.
Yeah, that's
Vegas knows something. They always know.
Yeah, one thing to watch Saturday night as I check the weather here in Provo. Obviously, I was out there about 10 days ago. Cold Saturday with a decent chance of snow throughout the day, 50%. So I do think cold weather right there at the base of the Wasatch Mountains could be a significant factor in this game.
Provo, Spain? If you guys don't know that reference.
I don't know that reference at all. That flew 10 feet over my head.
You young bucks.
That's who Colorado State's going to get on a schedule next year.
That flew over my head and went into the dugout and decapitated a bat boy.
That was a good throw, Knobloch.
Fletch. Come on, man. Come on. Homework. Watch Fletch. Okay. 9-1 team is coming into Tuscaloosa. The Bears. Mercer Bears.
Shout out Mike Jacobs. Love that guy. Former Ohio State offensive lineman. Tweeted about this earlier in the week. A tremendous amount of great coaching jobs this year at the FCS level. But what Mike Jacobs is doing in year one, going to lead Mercer to the SoCon title and a playoff berth, is significant after what we all know he did for a few years at Lenoir-Rhyne and then Notre Dame College with virtually no resources prior to that. No, Mercer does not have a chance in this game, but you opened the door. And so I'm shouting out Mike Jacobs at Mercer and then Billy Kosh at Stony Brook as being two of the finest first-year coaching jobs anywhere, along with Tim Plow, who I already shouted out at UC Davis. So, and Trey Lamb doing a really nice job at ETSU.
All right, Missouri's in South Carolina. Can South Carolina just kind of stay good, or you never know?
No. Drink said this week, if you win 10 games in the SEC, you should absolutely be in the college football playoff by late Saturday night after the Cockabooses roar. Drink won't have to worry about being in the college football playoff.
Okay. Yeah, I boldly predicted Oklahoma would win last week. They were on track to do so until they completely fell apart in the final 2 minutes. Home against this Oklahoma team is not the same as on the road at South Carolina. The game's at night, right?
I believe that's correct.
I think it is. Yeah, 6 o'clock. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with Sellers healthy, South Carolina they're top 5 physically when Sellers is healthy in terms of just athleticism on their defensive line and their backfield. It's just a tough matchup for a lot of teams. I mean, just ask LSU, just ask Alabama, just ask A&M. So I like South Carolina to win this game.
The question was, is the game at night? And I said yes. Doug says 4:15. I think that's the same thing these days. Holy smokes! Can we get a law to change the time zone thing? I don't even know what Mountain Time is.
Yeah,
no one does except JB.
It's the greatest time zone in our country. That's what it is.
Greatest place to live. I don't know about the time zone, but go on.
Time zone.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, listen, the time zone, and I need this help, so I want to point this out. I'm so much less of a prick in the Mountain Time Zone, and it's imperative. Like I'm a better
You're on
person.
vacation. Everyone's more
No,
less than
no,
on
I'm
vacation.
not. I'm out there too much to be on vacation. I work.
No, I'm agreeing with you. The Mountain Time Zone is the place to live and to be. It's just not the best time zone. That's all we got.
In Scott's world, people in Mountain Time wake up every day and have no idea what time it is. What are they central or?
No, Zach. In my mind, they wake up and they don't care what time it is because they live and they get to live in this.
Okay.
They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. They just wake up and they wake up. They shoot something. They eat something, and they're like, "What are we gonna do the rest of the day? I don't know. I'm good. Don't want to go trap something, or maybe we'll go ski." And that's great. Or just look at the majesty that God created. It's amazing.
The great thing
You're making
about
me want to go back to New Mexico now.
the great thing about Mountain Time is that I'm like Kramer, baby. I don't even need an alarm clock. It's all up here.
Oh, that's beautiful. God bless America. All right, this thing's off the rails. We're 30 minutes in. There's 7 or 8 other games we could talk about. Gentlemen, is there anyone you want to talk about?
I think a sneaky good game could be Michigan State and Illinois. That was Illinois had been ranked at points in the year. Is that one at Illinois? So it's at Illinois. 2:30 game. Kind of in that sleepy window when you're ready for a nap most Saturdays, but that could be a sneaky good one.
My game, I made a phone call to Indianapolis and NCAA headquarters, and then I made a confirmation phone call to Big Ten headquarters, and they both confirmed that someone has to win the Nebraska USC game, no matter how much both teams might fight it. One of them is forced to win this game. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one just to see as they hot potato back and forth victory. One of them is going to be forced to win. Nebraska probably needs to win this game. They're going to be underdogs at Wisconsin against Iowa. USC is absolutely going to be underdogs against UC or against Notre Dame to close the season. So this is a must-win game for two teams that hate winning football games. So I'm keeping an eye on that one.
Tennessee State at the FCS level, Eddie George's crew goes to Gardner-Webb, which obviously retooling a bit after Trey Lamb left for that ETSU job. But Tennessee State has a chance to get its 8th win of the year. I think that might be a program record, or it would tie the program record. So not to the fanfare of a Deion Sanders, but the job that Eddie George is doing at the FCS level is pretty darn remarkable. He's kind of built that thing very systematically from the ground up, and he lost his offensive coordinator at a late juncture earlier this year after making a big splash hire from North Dakota State. So I think that's a significant game. Another game at the FCS level that I'll absolutely be Gamecast watching or box score trolling is the Battle of the Dakotas, South Dakota at North Dakota. Always a compelling game. And then at the at the FBS level, Boston College started this season really well, even I think cracked into the national rankings for a couple of weeks. They fizzled a bit since then. They're at SMU. SMU has to keep winning and winning large, as does Miami, for the ACC to have any hopes of being anything other than a one-bid league. I still think it ultimately will end up a one-bid league, but that's a game that I think merits attention just because of its potential impact on the 12-team CFP field.
It's going to be
John. You bring up a good point. About Eddie George's success, prime success. Maybe Mississippi Valley State should consider hiring Dak Prescott.
College football playoffs field's getting a little crowded for an ACC team when 4 Big Ten teams, bold prediction, are going to end up in the field. So
I'll tell you, John, you brought up SMU, Boston College. I think SMU wins that game pretty handily. But the interesting thing to me there is it's a Bill O'Brien thing. Schematically, he knows ball. He can put his guys in places to win. And early season, I was blown away by that quarterback. And Bill had a couple of plays, and he went to him constantly. That he just out-leveraged the defense. He's like, look, there's no way they're going to stop me from getting 10 yards. And that kid really did a great job. And now they're benching that guy for the other quarterback. And that guy, is away from the team for a few days. And I'm like, okay, first of all, how soft is that? But second, does B.O.B. does he have some? I don't know. He doesn't seem to manage people
some
conflict.
personality issues. Yeah, personality issues.
Yeah. That was the next point. While you were talking, I was trying to get the names right because I knew there was the quarterback switch, and that's a big deal. And Castellanos' kid is who he's benched, and he's played like 21 games the last 2 years for Boston College, and they're going with Grayson James. I don't know anything about that. We'll see. Look, SMU made a quarterback switch early in the season, and the team rallied around that move to Kevin Jennings, and look how they've taken off since then. It's late in the year. You don't get the sense that this is the same type of situation that can spur the Eagles. But again, it's a critically important game for the ACC, because if an SMU or a Miami stubs its toe again down the stretch, I think that really cements the ACC as strictly a one-bid league. I think it'll be very difficult for the ACC to have anyone other than that. And then on the flip side of things, also in the ACC, you do have Clemson and Pitt battling, and that's two teams trying to regain their stride after some disappointing losses in recent weeks.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a great week. We got this week, 2 more weeks, and then we got the conference championships. Every game's important. We'll be watching. I look forward to watching them alongside you guys. We'll be following on Twitter, and then we'll have some thoughts thereafter. At Zach_Barnett, John D. Bryce 1, Coach Sam's, I'm Football Scoop. We're out.